The Rangers absolutely robbed the Oakland A's of a win. But the worst thing the Oakland A's did was wake up Corey Seager.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into Corey Seager waking up, Andrew Heaney looking fantastic, and some real problems with the Rangers' defense in the outfield. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Now, for the second game in a row, the Rangers have absolutely thieved a win from the clutches of defeat. Games like this that they did not win last year, they are winning them in bunches already this year, heading into the 8th inning, down, looking dead, defeated, 2-0. Not much going for this offense at all. An offense that was, quite frankly, getting just crazy bad BABIP luck. Balls that were hit hard, that should have been hits, that just kept not being hits. At one point, the Rangers had an expected batting average of around, I believe, 350 with just 2 hits. I think that was heading into the 8th inning, where everything changed because Corey Seager comes in and saves the day, down 2-0, with a runner on first and second. What does Corey do but hit clutch home runs, especially when Leo Taveras is getting on base ahead of him for those clutch home runs? You may remember Leo Taveras' walk in the bottom of the 9th inning of Game 1 of the World Series. Before that, game-tying, majestic home run by Corey Seager. This one, I mean, not quite as high stakes as Game 1 of the World Series, but for where Corey Seager was and where we were heading with the way that game was going, it saved us from just a miserable morning today, especially if you stay up late. Those West Coast road trips, they're rough for a lot of reasons, not just staying up late, not just, the Oakland A's, especially this year, being extremely pesky when no one expected them to be. It seems like the West Coast road trips to Anaheim aren't going to be quite as challenging this year with the Angels in such disarray. But this was heading to be a just miserable loss. And Corey Seager said, no, don't worry. I got you. Remember, I am still Corey Seager. It's been a rough start to the year, but I am still Corey freaking Seager. And shout out to Mr. Lucas Erceg, the reliever for the Oakland A's, who had an interesting approach to Corey Seager. Now, if you don't know about Lucas Erceg, it's totally understandable because he's a member of the 2024 Oakland A's. They are not exactly the most notable bunch, but he has a really interesting story, and he's been very good this year. The back end of this A's pen has been very good this year, which is why they're hovering around 500, even though the overall talent is not great. Erceg throws about 99 to 100 miles an hour. He is a former second-round pick, but he was drafted as a third baseman. And he always had a cannon of an arm, and so the thought was, we can move him to the mound if that doesn't work out. Now, he was drafted by the Brewers in the second round, and he really struggled with alcoholism. Things got derailed. He just could not hit, and his life kind of got off the rails. But he got things under control, was able to manage his addiction and get clean, and he has been absolutely fantastic for the A's outside of this at-bat. And, well, I guess this whole outing was not great for Erceg. But the approach to Corey Seager, who has been struggling, he has struggled much more than we have seen him in years past. He's had, his first year in Texas, it was a down year for him. He still hit a career-high 33 home runs, but the batting average, the on-base weren't great, but a lot of that was, bad BABIP luck. It was not him. He was hitting balls hard, but he was getting just annihilated by the shift. The shift was, well, not quite fully eliminated, but definitely lessened, and last year he was one of the best hitters in the entire world. And this year, coming back from sports hernia surgery, it took him a while to get physically 100% right. And for the last couple of weeks, he said he is now physically right. The first couple of weeks of the year, he was not, fully himself. But for the last few weeks, he's been hitting baseballs hard. He has just been hitting them on the ground or right at guys, and just frankly been getting very unlucky. Even this game, he was very unlucky because he had multiple hits that should have been hits that ended up being lineouts with a expected batting average over 500. He had a where'd we go? Yeah, a flyout in the third inning that had a 610 expected batting average, and a lineout in the sixth inning that had a 680 expected batting average. You thought, oh my gosh, Corey Seager's just due. He's just due. He keeps hitting these balls hard. He keeps hitting them at good angles. The flyout in the third inning was 100.6 miles an hour off the bat. He's starting to look like himself. And then up he comes in the eighth inning against Mr. Lucas Erceg. And Erceg says, okay, I am not going to throw this guy a fastball. I have a great fastball, but Corey Seager can time up high heat, high in the zone. We saw that with the iconic home run. We've seen that for years with Corey Seager. So I thought, I'm going to throw this guy a changeup. I'm going to throw this guy another changeup. 2 straight changeup. Ball 1. Swinging strike 2. Then another changeup. Another changeup. There's a 3-1 count. Another changeup in the 3-1 count on the inside corner for a called strike, a full count. Then he says, you know what, for good measure, why don't I try one more changeup? That is 6 straight changeups to a guy who is one of the best hitters in baseball. Now, his changeup's fine. It's not a bad changeup, and it works really well when you've got 100 in your back pocket. But you throw Corey Seager 6 straight changeups, and the 6th of which is, a little below belt high, but right over the middle of the plate. That man is going to kill it. He is going to crush it. He is too good not to, and that's exactly what Corey Seager freaking did. 107.6 miles an hour off the bat, 422 feet into the Oakland night, even though it is early May, even though it is very cold and a very big stadium, very hard to hit home runs, far at this point in the season, especially that time of night in Oakland. Corey Seager said, I'm not missing this one. I am a bad freaking man. I am going to save you from the awful discourse around outfield defense being the primary story of this game. I am the primary story of this game. I am that dude. I have been that dude. I will continue to be that dude. Corey freaking Seager. Thank you for a majestic life-changing is maybe a bit dramatic, but just a day-changing home run that the Rangers quite desperately needed. He's still rocking a 610 OPS on the year. The on-base is a point below 300. Slugging is at just 311, but the expected numbers tell you that he's hitting the ball better than that. He is getting supremely unlucky. And with Corey Seager, the thing that makes the great players great and the mediocre players mediocre and the bad ones bad is that the bad players, when they have a hot streak, usually it doesn't last all that long, and the cold streaks last quite a while. The medium players, they can have their prolonged hot streaks, but it also takes them a while to figure things out when things are in a slump, because every player will have slumps. No matter how amazing they are, nobody is going to be the same day in, day out. But what makes the great players exceptional is that they don't suck for a long time. Every player will suck for a little bit. Corey Seager, he will tell you that the first month of the season, he sucked. By Corey Seager standards, by regular player standards, he was not a good player. But the thing that was made it so surprising is that not only did we see him come off the IL and look like Pete Corey Seager immediately last year, which is not a normal thing to do, I should add. He also played through that sports hernia through the playoffs. He sustained it at some point in the playoffs. So when he hit that iconic Game 1 World Series homer, and when he won World Series MVP, he was playing through a sports hernia. So to see him struggle to get right this year was surprising. To see him struggle for this long, he's got 147 plate appearances on the year, and to see him struggle for this long is not something we've seen. Seager last year had a couple bad stretches that weren't even bad, and those lasted like a week, maybe 3 days, maybe at most like 10 games. I think there was a 10-game stretch where he didn't hit a homer at some point in September, if I'm remembering correctly. And we're like, oh no, that's a Corey Seager slump. And he, still finished second in MVP voting and would have won the MVP had Shohei Ohtani not been doing things that physically should not be possible for mortal beings. But seeing Corey Seager get this one, don't let him get one, because once he gets one, I fear for opposing pitchers, like I used to last year watching Corey Seager. Coming up to talk about a little bit about the rest of this offense. Andrew Heaney looking fantastic, and some problems with the Rangers' outfield defense. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Baseball season is in full form, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond into your PrizePicks entries. Like, maybe you're wanting to add Corey Seager, and you wanted to pick more or less on his number of hits or home runs on the day. With that home run last night, maybe he's about to start going off on a hot streak. But PrizePicks has something for every sports fan, from baseball to basketball to League of Legends, and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Shohei Ohtani, well, I guess not LeBron anymore, he's not still in the playoffs, but Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, Jude Bellingham, all in the same entry. PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the action in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Georgia, and Texas as well. Testing your skills on PrizePicks this baseball season, it's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you've got the skills, you can turn $10 into $100 with just a few taps. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions and special offers for the biggest moments in sports. PrizePicks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this baseball season. So download the app today, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the PrizePicks app today, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. This episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there is so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with your friends to complete big albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting your friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go features new, exciting everyday challenges with tournaments and challenges. So a ton of unique mini games like Digging for Treasure or Robot Pachinko game. And there's always something new, like timed events where you can win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frizzies. There's always something fun to discover on Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Now, the Rangers have more bats in their lineup than just Corey Seager, and Seager's home run was a 3-run homer. And I gotta give a huge credit to the guys in the order that got on base ahead of Corey Seager to make that the winning home run. A huge credit to Josh Smith, who comes in and works a pinch walk, a full count, 99-mile-an-hour fastball just above the zone, where Smith comes in off the bench for Davis Wenzel, works a very quality at-bat. He went 1-for-1 with a single and a walk. And then we have Lily Taveras, who reached base 3 times in this one, including an absolutely stung single by Mr. Taveras, I believe 103 miles an hour off the bat, that ended up being the tying run, and then ahead of Corey Seager's 107.6 mile an hour homer, the hardest hit ball of the day. The second hardest hit ball, by the way, was Davis Wenzel at 107 miles an hour. The Rangers had 4 different balls that were hit over 105.4 miles an hour, or 105.4 or more. Nathaniel Lowe at 105.4, Jonah Heim 105.8, then the Wenzel ground out and the Seager dinger. This was a complete team effort where the Rangers just were not getting good luck in this one, and Taveras reached base 3 times in this game. Offensively, he has been very good the last 7 games. We'll get to his defense later on. I know, I saw it. We're going to talk about it. But offensively, the last 7 games, he has got a 3.45 slash line in 23 at-bats. He has got a home run, 3 RBIs, 4 walks to 6 strikeouts, hitting .304, on base .407, slugging .522. That's your number 9 hitter. That's a very good number 9 hitter, and he will probably continue to hit number 9 in this order. Whether he's playing center field or left field, that is a luxury, and it is why Marcus Semien and Corey Seager keep getting all of these RBIs, because you cannot have big RBI numbers from your guys in the 1 and 2 hole if the guys in the 7, 8, 9 hole aren't getting on base or getting into scoring position at a good clip. And, RBIs aren't the most important thing, but getting opportunities for those guys, your best hitters, with runners in scoring position, in clutch situations, giving those guys those opportunities, that's important. Luis Taveras getting on base and hitting these doubles and hitting these singles and working these walks, those are important. It is important to this offense. But the Rangers did have some weird defense. I love that Bruce Bochy is very aggressive with the pinch hitting. I love that. He is not afraid to work the platoon splits, to work guys in. He had a Travis Jankowski pinch hitting appearance for Andrew Kisner. He also had the pinch hitting appearance, Josh Smith, for Davis Wenzel. But because of the Rangers having to burn their catcher and having to burn the DH by proxy, because Kisner was out, Jankowski had to go somewhere, and Jonah Heim was already in and DHing. You have to burn the DH if your DH switches to a position. So unfortunately, we did not get to see David Robertson hitting in the 9th inning. I think that would have been funny. But alas, that's not how it worked. Jankowski came in, and he moved to right field, and Adolis Garcia was pulled from the game. There was a little bit concern for me because he had a weird swing in his final at-bat. He went 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. But Bruce Bochy said after the game that Adolis Garcia was fine. Everything was fine. They just needed to make the defense work. So no need to worry there, because if Adolis Garcia was hurt as well, I think I might start throwing things and screaming and maybe committing minor crimes. Like I might jaywalk because I'm so mad about it. But the thing that does not make me mad is, of course, Andrew Heaney, a guy who I owe several apologies to over the last couple of games. I mean, early on this season, it was a little bit of a rough watch for Heaney. He was just getting a little unlucky in his first game, and then a couple of games in a row, he just did not look good, did not look right, was not going deep into games, was walking a bunch of guys, was giving up a bunch of home runs. And then the last 2 games for Heaney have been just downright fantastic. 2 runs for him in this one. Only one of them was earned. Honestly, none of them should be earned. 6 innings of work. Went out there for the 7th, allowed what was quite generously ruled a double to lead off that 7th inning, then was pulled, and in comes Leclerc in what was a leverage situation. Not high, maybe low, mid-medium leverage. Rangers are down 2-0, and without Leclerc coming in and getting out of that jam, he gets a strikeout swinging, then he gets a walk, then he gets a strikeout looking, and then he gets a line out to Corey Seager, which, by the way, Corey Seager's defense this year has been well above average in terms of his range. That has been something that has gone kind of under the radar of him being an above average defensive shortstop. And, we pair that with the hitting, him being, by the way, the best hitter on the planet, who also happens to play shortstop, which is kind of how you describe Corey Seager. That's a huge thing for the Rangers. And then the Rangers take the lead in the top of the 8th inning. Then in comes David Robertson. Then in comes Kirby Yates. And there's just bing, bang, boom. Absolutely zero drama. Kirby Yates, the 6th save of the year, still a 0 ERA. Robertson has 11 holds on the year. Perfect inning of work for him because, of course, and a .96 ERA. And, oh, by the way, don't look now or look now if you want to, because I'm looking now. But in his last 7 games, Jose Leclerc has not allowed a single run. Actually, you can go back to his last 8 games. But in the last 7, he's pitched 8 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 5 walks, 9 strikeouts. The walks, still a problem. When stuff moves that much, sometimes it can almost move too much. And at times, that happens to be the case for Jose Leclerc. But he is still coming in, getting these outs, keeping the Rangers in these games. He's not pitching in the highest leverage situations at this point. I don't think he is going to take back the closer job from Yates unless Yates does something to lose it, which I'm hoping doesn't happen because Yates has been, just about as good as expected. I mean, the pitching run values in the top 3% of baseball. His actual ERA is 0. Expected ERA is 1.60. So it's not like he's just getting lucky. He's avoiding these barrels. And Andrew Heaney has been dominant for the Rangers the last couple outings and gone deep in the game, which is something he hadn't done. I mean, going back out there, I believe it was at 93 or 95 pitches, was not something I thought that Heaney would do, coming out there again for the 7th inning to maybe get 7 innings in back-to-back games, which is not something he's done since, I believe, 2015, the one year where he just had 180 innings and hasn't come anywhere close to that in a long time. But Heaney has been very valuable for this Rangers team. They also got some good news about Nathan Eovaldi and a little bit clearer of a picture of what this rotation is going to look like over the next couple weeks. We're going to talk about that and some defensive struggles by Leo Taveras and the whole outfield in this game right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. Moms are a gift, so give her the best this Mother's Day. Get gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash. Select from hundreds of expertly crafted bouquets to the best of tech to self-care essentials and more delivered right to her door. Does mom have a sweet tooth? Is she a tech enthusiast, a beauty connoisseur, or is she outdoorsy? No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with a fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. Pair flowers with a gift card so she can celebrate any way she wants. Is she a bookworm? Try a bookstore gift card. Does she love a good latte? You get her a gift card for her favorite coffee shop. You can't go wrong. Get a Mother's Day gift as unique as she is with DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. Get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. Now, for the first time in what feels like probably eons, the Rangers actually got some good injury news. Honestly, I feel like half of this podcast for the last, month or so has been just who's hurt, how hurt are they, when are they coming back, who's coming back, who's hurt now, every single bit. There's been so many injuries and so little of the news has been good, but the Rangers did get some certified good news. Their ace, Nathan Eovaldi, went up to New York to go see a specialist about his right groin strain. A groin injury is not the worst injury, but there was some concern that it could end up spiraling into something more. A groin strain is a lesser version of a sports hernia that Corey Seager suffered last year, had surgery to repair earlier this year and made him miss all of spring training. And if that was going to be the case with Nate Eovaldi, I would have done some crimes worse than jaywalking at that news. But the good news, that's not the case. It is just a groin strain. So the expectation is that Nathan Eovaldi will be off the injured list when that 15-day stint is up. He went on the injured list on the 3rd of May. It might have been actually retroactive to the 2nd, the last day that he actually pitched. So if it was the 3rd, I believe that was the day that they actually put him on the IL, then he would be eligible to return Saturday, the 18th, at home against the Angels, and if it was the day before, then it will be the series opener on Friday against the Angels in under 2 weeks. A little bit under 2 weeks' time. So that is just great news for the Rangers. Also, as you're listening to this, you already know that Jose Urena started this Tuesday game, probably. The Rangers haven't named a second starter for the doubleheader on Wednesday. First game will be Michael Lorenzen, but as of right now, not entirely sure who exactly it's going to be. Maybe it will end up being a little bit of a bullpen day again, but you can't really do that 2 days in a row, especially the second game of a doubleheader. I anticipate that it will probably be Jack Leiter. It might be Owen White, or we might get just some random move that we did not expect of a guy from AAA. Who knows at this point? The Max Scherzer rehab start, which I thought might be Tuesday, is not going to be Tuesday. I think partially because that game is starting at 11 a.m. for Frisco. Frisco's at home this week, so I think that will probably end up being where Scherzer pitches. But right now, Frisco's starter for Wednesday is listed as TBD. Their starter for Thursday is also listed as TBD. The expectation is that the hope was that Max Scherzer would make a second rehab start sometime this week since he missed his last week due to the thumb strain. Also, right now, Wednesday's Round Rock starter is listed as TBD. I think that was Jack Leiter's spot in the rotation, so that is a little bit why I'm leaning towards Leiter starting the second game of the doubleheader in Oakland, also just because I think he's the best option at this point. But let's get to the bad news. The bad news is not really news. It's just something we've known for a little bit, is that this Rangers defense in the outfield is having some issues, and quite specifically, Leody Taveras. But it wasn't just a Leody bad play in the outfield last night. It was everybody had their issues in the outfield, but the one that made it come to a head, which ironically was the one that did not end up leading to a run, those were misplays by, well, half Leody's fault, half Adolis' fault, and also a misplay by Ezekiel Duran. A couple errors by Zeke Duran in this one. But it was a play by J.J. Bleday, a ball hit pretty well, about to the warning track. Leody Taveras made a decent read and just got turned around a little bit, jumped when he probably didn't have to, and the ball hit in and out of his glove, and this ball was somehow ruled a double, even though it should absolutely have been caught. According to the Not Caught bot, this is an account on Twitter that estimates catch probability for every uncaught fly ball with a greater percentage probability of 10%. Now, there are some caveats to this. It does assume an average starting position of, an average place. It doesn't take into account defensive shifts. So it just assumes he starts in a normal position, which he did. And Leody should have caught this ball. And it was not the first goof up that you just boggles your mind watching Leody play, because Leody will make some great defensive plays, and he'll have some moments offensively where he looks really dang good. But he'll also have some plays in center field that are mind-numbing. And I'm not going to go out there and celebrate these defensive miscues. I'm not going to point out every single one, because we all know. We all saw it. He should have caught it. It was a bad play. But I got into it with a couple people on Twitter and a couple other people that I really respect their opinions, that are saying, yeah, no, Leody sucked. Why are you defending him? And I'm not defending this play. I'm not. Because my defense of Leody has been better than Leody's defense of himself in the outfield. But I just don't see a whole lot of other better options of benching Leody right now and, oh my gosh, he can't play or whatever. There's not a whole lot of better options right now, especially with Langford on the IL, especially where you're counting quite a bit on Zeke Duran. Adolis Garcia's had some boneheaded plays in the outfield this year. Some truly mind-numbing, like, why are you making that misplay? Including in this game. I mean, there were several other plays that were not great, but the Not Caught bot gave it an 84% chance to catch that double by Bleday, and he didn't catch it. He should have. It's not the first time, and it's frustrating. But there were plenty of other misplays in this game. Zeke Duran had an error that was not great in the outfield, but he's also playing the outfield because Wyatt Langford is on the IL. They have several other outfielders that are on the 40-man roster that might be a little bit defensively better than Zeke Duran, but offensively and the whole package, they're not better than Zeke Duran, which is why he's playing in these games. He also had a really good play in the outfield, a ball that had a 950 expected batting average, honestly the highest expected batting average on the day. What ended up being a sac fly, it was a great catch and a great throw that ended up hitting the runner in the helmet. Spot on throw. Zeke's got a pretty good arm, but there was also the ball that had 95% catch odds. That was a long run, admittedly. He was playing pretty deep in left field. There was a ball into shallow left field, and he should have made that catch. And that error ended up scoring and could have been what sealed this game for the A's. It wasn't. There was also a ball later on that inning that had 55% catch odds that landed right in smack dab in the middle between Adolis Garcia and Leody Taveras. Adolis Garcia was closer to it, and maybe one of them could have caught it with a dive or a little bit better of a route, but it was a misplay, and they probably should have caught it. And that led to the error from earlier going all the way to third base, And then that's what led to the sac fly, where Zeke Duran almost nailed the runner at home, but didn't. And so it was just defensive miscues all around the outfield. But I say all this about Leody Taveras and that there's not many better options. If you want Dustin Harris up here at the big league level, you have not watched Dustin Harris like I have watched Dustin Harris. This is not to shade him. This is not to crap on Dustin Harris. I think he will be a big leaguer. I think he will be a decent big leaguer. But right now, Leody Taveras literally just last year proved that he is a first division starting outfielder. A 2.5 WAR season, good enough to start every day for a playoff team and a championship team. This team won a championship last year with Leody Taveras starting pretty much every freaking day. And I even said at the beginning of the year, eventually, Leody's probably going to move off center, and of the 4 outfielders that are thought of as the main options at this point of El Bombi, Evan Carter, White Langford, Leody Taveras, Leody's obviously the odd man out. But that doesn't mean you should be in a rush to ship him off. Doesn't mean you should be out here, banging your head against the wall at every single misplay. It wasn't great. And eventually, Leody's probably going to get moved off. If Wyatt Langford, heck, even Evan Carter's had some defensive goof-ups that were kind of mind-numbing this year. Wyatt Langford's pretty much the only guy who's played the outfield this year. Jankowski as well. But Wyatt Langford's pretty much the only one that has been an everyday player that's played a decent chunk in the outfield that hasn't had some complete mind-numbing misplay, and he was thought to be by far the worst defensively of everyone who's played the outfield. But I'm not going to sit here and just crucify Leody Taveras at this point. We all see it. He needs to get better, and it's kind of mind-numbing that he's not doing this. I even had someone say, oh, well, arguing with me on Twitter about, oh my gosh, your positive homer takes. It's just, I can't listen to the podcast. I can't believe you're just such a homer. It just comes down to a mindset for me about how I watch baseball, how I, not to get philosophical, but kind of how I view life. Of just, there is always going to be plenty of negative out there, and I'm not going to focus on it, especially when it comes to the baseball season. This is a 162 game season. This team quite literally just won the World Series. My greatest sports dream, the thing that I thought would never happen, the thing that, quite frankly, most of us lifelongers thought would never happen because it seemed like after 2011, after all the near misses, after all the things that had gone wrong, I just thought it's never going to happen for my team. And so after that, it's still coloring my view on this team. It's why I try and end every episode kind of giving a holistic approach, kind of looking at the bigger picture and saying, hey, this team, which, by the way, is in first place in the AL West, I'm not going to find all that much to whine about unless it's pretty obvious and egregious. If you don't like it, then you can go find some other negative podcast, and that's fine. And I don't begrudge you for it. But I'm going to keep looking on the positives with this team. They are in a good place. And quite frankly, everything since that championship and moving forward is gravy. I love baseball, and the one thing I wanted from baseball was to watch my favorite team win the World Series. They did it. And everything from here on out, I still want them to win. I'm still going to enjoy it. But everything from here on out is pretty much gravy. So finding ways to crap on guys who helped achieve my greatest sports dream, most of those guys are going to get quite a bit of a pass. Even Heaney in the early stage when he was rough, I'm like, hey, World Series champion Andrew Heaney. When Jose Leclerc was struggling badly early, I said, hey, remember, World Series champion Jose Leclerc. Heck, even Robbie Grossman is not catching strays from me any longer because he is a World Series champion, dang it. And I'm going to always look on the positive side. And you know what? That's just how it's going to stay. And if that's no good for you, I am very sorry for you. But that's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.